Hey everybody, it's TumescentPie, and I'm a Terran player. I have played the other two races, but Terran's really where my heart is. I'm presenting this video as a Terran player. If that invalidates my opinion in your eyes, you can just close this video now. Are you still with me? Good. I intend to talk about my feelings about the legacy of the Void beta. I was only part of the beta for the last 2 to 3 weeks, so my opinion might be a little bit shallow from that aspect. Again, if you want to leave, you can just close this window. For what it's worth, I have played thousands of games of Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm. But whatever, let's get into it. Now with that out of the way, the first thing I want to talk about is the faster game economy, and faster game in general. I like that the game is faster now. The long games are only 20 to 30 minutes as opposed to the 1 to 2 hours, or 4 hours, that they were in the past. However, I don't believe that Blizzard went far enough in these changes. The first few minutes of the game are still very similar. I believe that the beginning of the game should be automated or bypassed in some way. Maybe you pick the first 1 to 2 minutes and get the buildings and units that you would normally get. Due to the similarity of the openers of so many games, I feel like we should just be able to just get to the action. The map choices for this beta seemed pretty awful. It was very much like the previous seasons. I ended up vetoing so many maps that I wish that I could have just vetoed one more. Actually, all of the maps in this expansion have a really bland feeling. Maybe I've played or watched too many games of StarCraft, but I would love to see more personality among the maps. For instance, different gas and mineral distributions among the mains and naturals, gold bases being removed completely, or having more blue minerals at these places that would be gold. Having bases with 3 to 4 gas, really basic changes. Furthermore, I'd like to see more map types. Remember the Devil's Playground from Wings of Liberty? This is the mission where you had to use Reapers to run around the map and collect resources. The lava would rise on a timer. What if there was a map like this in the map pool? And that's just one of the thousands of different things that could be built with this map editor. There are a lot of crazy things that can be done with these maps, but instead we're left with the dash and terminal as Blizzard's attempt at a map with character. If I had my wishes, I would love to see restrictions on units, restrictions on upgrades, or even new units for certain maps. I believe that this could breathe new life into the game. Just think about it right now. Think about all the crazy ideas that you could come up with for different types of maps, different mechanics. You know, like night maps, storms, biohazards, nukes, gold bases at the start, NPC armies roaming the map, no Vespian in the main base. The list goes on and on and on. The Adept is a fairly powerful unit, but well balanced in my experiences. I was worried that it was going to make Protoss so powerful that they'd be unbeatable. While there are some rushes that are really difficult to hold, the unit really feels right, and I'm happy with the design here. The Disruptor, on the other hand, or as I've been calling it, the Anal Rape Bot 3000, is an insane unit. This is so much more powerful than a Colossus drop, as it doesn't even give any notification that your units are under attack. It just insta-kills a sphere of workers. It's kind of like they took the Widow Mine, buffed it heavily, and then gave it to Protoss. I don't understand why Protoss needed another AoE unit to go alongside an army of AoE. This should probably have been a replacement for the Colossus. But it doesn't look like Protoss are using them together, so that's kind of nice. Storm plus Colossus plus ARB? Ick. The Ravager and the Lurker are also both huge mistakes in my opinion. Roaches that shoot up and Hydras that now control ground are just problematic from a design standpoint. Starting with Roaches, the downside to a big army of Roaches is that they're vulnerable to air units. With the Ravager upgrade, you're less susceptible to these attacks, and it feels like a huge buff for Zerg overall. The Lurkers feel like they just took the Siege Tank from Terran, increasing the power greatly, removing the friendly fire, and then giving it Cloak. This is a huge problem for Terran bio units that just want to move around on the ground. Entire armies just seem to be melted as soon as they encounter the Lurker, and it just doesn't make the game feel fun to me. The Cyclone is either insanely powerful or ridiculously weak depending on the application. Sometimes it just ruins an opponent, and other times it gets caught due to the weird pathfinding in StarCraft 2 and dies a sad, sad death. I like that it feels very skill intensive as a unit. I really like the Cyclone. The Liberator's another unit that I just happen to love. This thing got changed a lot during the first couple of weeks that I played it, but it's another high skill unit. If used properly, it can seem like the most powerful unit ever created. If used by somebody like me, it just gets killed by a queen or a stalker or even just a single marine. The 8 armor Ultralisk, though. Ugh. This thing is just broken. I mean, maybe that's just my opinion, but fuck. This thing is just... It hurts. Especially with the Marauder nerf, but even against Terran Marines, it means that regardless of whether the Marines are doing their base 6 damage or getting +3, they're only doing 1 damage per shot. This ignores upgrades, and I think that's really bad game design. I think that it makes the Ultra a GG button, and if the Zerg is able to get to that point against a Bio Terran, it just usually ends the game. Moving on to the Ghosts, though, I think that the nerfs that happened in the earlier expansion and the core game, Wings of Liberty, I think that this has taught Terran players not to build Ghosts as they've made them so weak. The new Snipe is actually really interesting, but it can be interrupted, and Ghosts just don't feel like a very powerful spellcaster. Lastly, I want to talk about the Parasitic Bomb. I think this thing definitely needs to be revisited. Let's compare it to the Secret Missile for a second. The Secret Missile turns the target red, and if the target moves away in time, it just shuts off completely and doesn't do anything. The Parasitic Bomb does 90 damage to all air units near the target for 7 seconds, and it can actually be stacked if it hits other air units. So if it's on multiple air units, it has that 90 damage over 7 seconds, hitting all of them. So air units already cluster on top of each other by default, which means that over a few seconds, an entire army can be just destroyed by 3 to 4 Vipers. I don't understand why Blizzard keeps doing things like this. Over and over, it seems like the pattern is to take something that Terran has, make it easier or better, and then give it to the other races. One of the issues that I personally faced after playing for about 2 weeks is that the game started to feel stale. I did play about 500 games in that time span, so maybe I just played too much, but in the end I felt like the game was only a little bit different from the previous incarnations of StarCraft 2. I was really hoping that Legacy of the Void would be as different from Heart of the Swarm as Wings of Liberty was from Brood War. The limitations of viable strategy, the issues of having your entire army that took you 5 to 10 minutes to create being wiped out in under 10 seconds, and just the general way that macro works are things that I think are going to hold the game back, especially from going mainstream along with burning out its core players. I'm really worried that Legacy of the Void is going to end StarCraft. I know that it's the end of their planned trilogy, but with the viewer counts over the Twitch beta, I just feel like the hype isn't in the right place. Lastly, I want to talk about the huge problem facing streamers. It feels like Blizzard has ignored streamers as part of its marketing economy, but streamers are important to promoting games in terms of bringing in new players and reactivating players who may have fallen away, and I think one of the biggest issues facing streamers is sniping and other stream cheating. I don't believe that it would take much for Blizzard to fix this. Not showing player names on the loading screen, for instance. That would make a sniper have to confirm that they're playing against the streamer by checking to make sure they're on the same map and having a scout to make sure that they know who they're playing against to see if they're playing against their target. Also, not showing races would even fix a pet peeve I have against the way that random works. The other small change would be not showing your current opponents in your match history until after the game is over. This allows people currently to look up a match history so they can see build orders during a game, and it also allows for people who are watching your stream to message your opponent and tell them what you're doing. So, will I be playing Legacy of the Void? Will I quit StarCraft 2 forever? These are questions that I've been getting on Twitch for the last couple of weeks, and the answer is that on November 10th, I plan on playing Fallout 4. I plan on completing a playthrough on stream, and then moving forward from there. I will be checking the progress on patches, and hopefully they'll remove the 8 armor Ultralisk from the game and make some other changes. Hopefully they're having parallel thoughts on the things that I've brought up. But in the end, I'm sure that I'm going to join you in Legacy of the Void at some point, because StarCraft 2 is a hell of a drug.